Good morning and welcome to math. Here's a picture of up my nose. All right, so for today we are going to have to do some more adding. We're going to do more addition problems. You've been working so hard at these things. We're just going to give you more and more practice at this until it becomes kind of second nature to do. We are going to need a page out of our book to do that, and I think just a pencil should probably be okay for what you're going to need to do. But you're going to need this page. The lesson itself is called Addition Relating Concepts. It's out of your Stepping Stones student journal. It looks a lot like the last page that we've been working on. There's just different things on it. It's page 91 down on the corner, and it says Addition Relating Concepts, and we got some pictures of some birds hanging out in the air and on the fence. I hope you're already kind of looking at it and thinking, ooh, I know what kind of addition problems I can put for those. How many birds are there all together? That's what you're going to be working with. I'm going to get some stuff set up on my board so you can kind of work through a couple problems before, just to kind of get your brain supercharged. You and I can do that together, and then I will turn you loose on that page. Like I said, this is more of what you've been doing. This is not new concepts or anything. This is just continuing to practice what you've been doing. So we'll do some practice problems and then I'll turn you loose. All right, I'm going to pause it and then I'll switch around some stuff and get my thing set up. All right, so the problems that we're going to be setting up are very, very tiny, and they're written in my book that I'm looking up here. So I'm going to be doing a lot of bouncing back and forth and trying to read this super microscopic little writing down here and trying to make interesting drawings to go along with it. So our first problem is it's a word problem, right? So we have to listen to some words. We got to listen to the story and kind of paint a picture in our brain. There are 3 pickles in one jar. There are 4 pickles in another jar. What is the total number of pickles? So that's some more of those buzzwords for you. Total number of pickles is going to be kind of like our word altogether. That means they want to know how many pickles there are. So hopefully you heard a couple of number words in there. We'll kind of go through it and make our little drawing as we're going. The first sentence of this story problem was, there are 3 pickles in one jar. So we've got one jar. Let's say that's our jar. And it has 3 pickles in it. Pickles are green, and my green marker is not working. So today, pickles are going to be blue. We have blue pickles in a jar. There are 3 of them. A couple bumps, because pickles have bumps. That's what makes them so delicious. The next part of the question is, or the next part of the problem is, there are 4 pickles in another jar. So for my brain to work this out a little bit easier, I'm going to draw the picture. As you can tell, it is not the most artistic picture ever, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be the most artistic picture ever, because this is not an art assignment, this is a math assignment. So you just want to give yourself all the tools, all the things that you need to help yourself solve that. And it's best to not freak out about how it looks, because that'll kind of slow you down. So I've got 3 pickles over here. This one was 4 pickles in a jar. So I got my 1, 2, 3, 4 pickles in a jar. They're blue pickles. We talked about that. It'll be in liquid because pickles tend to not float. And then the question, or they don't float as long as there's no liquid, so I made some liquid. The question is, how many pickles are there all in total? And what is the total number of pickles? Now, because I gave myself the right picture and read that problem and drew this based off of that picture, I now have the right numbers I need to solve the problem. Again, things that we've been talking about, our addition sign or plus sign right here means we're going to be adding 2 numbers together. The equal sign means that we are going to be looking at making sure that we have the same amount on one side of it as we do on the other side, okay? So hopefully whatever this number is the same as these things put together. The question is how many pickles there are, so now I just get to count pickles. I have 1, 2, 3 in this jar. I knew that from the problem, it told me that. This jar gave me 1, 2, 3, 4 pickles, so I know that as well. And now I just got to count them all on this side, and that'll give me my answer over here, provided you know what the numbers look like and you know what they are in order. So you got to keep practicing that counting numbers in order without messing them up and skipping any, because that'll help you with all of your addition stuff. So we're going to count them in order. I touch count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on this side I counted 7. So I think that there's going to be 7 over here. If I want to give myself my little dots to help me with that, it's another trick. It's not really even a trick, it's a tool that you can use to help you with that. So here's 3 dots, here's 4 dots, and I'm just going to go ahead and put 7 dots over here to match that number, and I'm going to see if it's the same. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 dots, 7 dots. I've done this problem correctly. I now know that 3 plus 4 equals 7, and that's how you'd read that across the way. So that's this problem. And the problems are always different. Sometimes it's a jar of pickles. This next one I think is going to be about cows. So it's going to be lots of fun trying to figure out how to draw a cow in real time while I'm talking to you. All right, let's read our itty bitty little problem. There are 5 apples in one bag. So it's not about cows, it's about apples. Today we're going to talk about apples. There's 5 in one bag. Okay. So, apples. Let's see if my red's working today. It is. That's great. So we're going to start with our container because it said in a bag. So there's our bag. We're going to put 5 apples in it. They're going to be tiny because I need all the space, and they're going to look like hearts because hearts are pretty easy to draw. And like I said, this is not an artistic problem. Today, this is a math problem, so we just need the drawing to kind of look like what we need it to and not worry about it too much because we're just using it as a tool. So we got our 5 apples in the bag. That is the first question. You're supposed to read the whole problem first. I should have went through the whole thing first before we got too crazy about it. The next part is going to be there are 2 apples in another bag. What is the total number of apples? So there's that word again, total. That's another one of those buzzwords. For the most part, that usually means add 2 things together, okay? When that comes up in these word problems. So there are 5 apples in one bag. There are 2 apples in another bag. What is the total number of apples? So we got our bag, we got our first number. The second one was 2 apples in another bag. So let's draw another bag. Make sure it's not the same bag. And this one has 2 apples in it. There's 1 apple. There's another apple. So now we have given ourselves the right tools to solve this problem. I drew these pictures. I'm not freaking out about how they look. I know that there's the right number of things in this one, the right numbers of things in this one. That'll help me solve the problem, which is what I'm trying to do with this addition problem. So let's figure out what it is. Okay, so let's figure out our first number. I can look at my picture. I drew it from the words. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 apples here. I'm going to put the number 5 in that box. That's my first number I'm adding together. And our second one is the other bag. So we've got 1, 2 apples in that box. Now you guys can kind of start setting up whatever tools you feel good with at this point. You can start feeling good with these dots. You can start feeling good with just the pictures. I have 5 dots here, and I have 5 apples here, so it's kind of the same thing. There's just, I didn't draw them as apples, I just made dots. There's 2 apples here, there's 2 dots here. It's the same number, just drawn different ways. And then we just have to count the apples or count the dots. We'll start with the apples, and then we'll figure out what this number is right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And just to check with our dots, we can make our little dot picture here. There's our 5. There's our 2, and if we did it right, this should be 7 dots over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 dots on this side of the equals sign. 7 dots on this side of the equal sign. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you're putting all these apples together, I mean, just for an extra special fun treat, we can talk about making the picture match. We're going to take this apple, put it over here. There's that apple. We're going to take this apple, put it over here. There's those 2 apples. They're in that bag now. We jumped them over. We're going to take this apple, put it over here. Get rid of that. Take this apple, put it over here. This apple we can put over here. That one, put it in this bag. We're going to Costco. We want to save bags. And here's one last one. We're going to put it in there. So I kind of took all my apples out of this bag. I put them in a 3rd bag to see how many apples I had all together, and then we can count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 apples. So we did that right. The math worked out. Hopefully you guys are starting to understand what these symbols mean and feeling good about these drawings. That's kind of what you're going to be doing for your work today. You get to look at some pictures and kind of be detectives, be math detectives, and figure out what the problem's asking you for. Let's look for it. Okay. So here's your page. Write an equation to match each picture. So you're just going to look at those birds right there. Best way to do it for these is kind of think about what are the 2 different sets of birds doing. Well, I'm looking at these birds and I see one set of birds is sitting on a fence and one set of birds is flying in the air. And that makes me think, oh, maybe I can just make one of my numbers. How many birds are sitting on a fence? We have 1, 2, 3 birds. That's going to go in this first box right here. We have 2 birds flying up in the air. 1, 2. That's going to be your second number, okay? 2 is going to go right over here in this box. And then you're going to want to know how many birds you have in total, or how many birds altogether. That's just count all the birds that you got flying or hanging out here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're going to put your 5 right there. And that's the first problem that you're going to be working on today. For the rest of these, check it out. See what you can figure out with these. Fill in all those numbers. Make little dots over here if you need to help you solve those problems. And keep adding. And we'll see you on the next lesson. I believe that that's going to be addition facts that are going to be coming your way. So you kind of get to have to try to make your own little pictures for that to help you out. So we'll see you on the next lesson. And have fun.